Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome back. It's Paul here from the HQ, and on this celebration day of my birthday, which I hope this video is being posted, we bring to a close the series which I started over 6 months ago, the Gardevoir Redesigns Challenge Series. That's it. This is the final part. We only have 3 types left, and if you've been following along, then you probably already know what those are. I hope to finish strong on these designs, so let's get right into them as we begin the end with type number 16. Steel type. Now, steel typing is my personal all-time favorite type. And so, not to be biased, but I spent a little bit of extra attention on this design, especially when kicking around ideas. I had a few go through my head that eventually fell through because they were either too cliche or represented something else I've already done too much in the series, namely like a heavy metal Gardevoir concept, which I already covered in both rock and normal types, so I figured it'd be best to avoid that. But the one I ended up settling on was a steampunk design. I adore all things steampunk, from the aesthetics to it, especially the outfits of it, so we decided to put that on our steel type Gardevoir. Everything from goggles, vests, to the gears implanted in the chest, and the striped pant legs a la Laurentis. Colors were decided and arranged specifically to avoid gray and silver and anything like that. It shows up way too much in steel types. The closest thing we have on ours would be the darker, more toned down turquoise in the skin tone. Everything else falls into more warm colors such as bronze, red, and gold. And then that concludes the construction of Gardevoir, the Adept Pokemon. And ultimately, this brings up design number 17, Dark type. Chronologically, Dark type should have come much before this, but I guess this is the order we're doing, so we'll not question it. For this design, avoiding traditional dark colors like gray, black, and brown are an obvious requirement, but other than that, most other things are going to be up to me on this one. From the beginning, I wanted to create a very suspicious and conniving kind of evil Pokemon. Nothing particularly dark about it, except for its cold, black, soulless body. Somehow this design began taking me down a more seductive route for whatever reason, and I just kind of went with it, but don't talk about that, alright? And don't even start comparing it to a certain more popular female succubus character from the Capcom franchise of video games. This one is nothing like that, no resemblance. I have no idea what you're talking about. And if I haven't been canceled yet for everything I've said, I know I'm 100% gonna get it for this Gardevoir, the sadist Pokemon. And as not to get nuked by YouTube, let's move right on along to our 18th and final design. Fairy type. It's quite fitting that this type also happens to be the other half of the original Gardevoir's typing. But this one had me the most stumped. How do you make a fairy type design that doesn't have wings, or is pink, or friendly, or fluffy, or whatever, and still have people know what type it is? Well, here's the funny part. You don't. You just make a play on words on it. And here was my answer. the Tooth Fairy. Now, you're probably envisioning the Tooth Fairy as like a happy-go-lucky, same as any other, with a wand and flies around and gives you money and whatnot. But that's not what it looks like in this story. This fairy eats teeth. And other bones too, as a matter of fact, and enjoys it. With that said, our design turned out to be more of a bone skeletal type Gardevoir. Pasty white with a black dress for contrast, and red in the hair and on the dress as well to signify the blood and bone marrow within. Of course, just for fun, we had to keep a cutesy wand and tiara, just with a bit of more of a relevant twist on them. And those with a keen eye as well will see that I've kept the style of dress almost identical to that of the original Gardevoir, as an homage for the final design to reflect just exactly where this all started. And with that, we can conclude the final time lapse, leaving us with the dex entry for Gardevoir, the Bone Lord Pokemon. And of course, we couldn't possibly close out the series without one last signature ability. This ability, Bone Crunch, is described as this. The Pokemon with this ability restores a little bit of health when an opposing Pokemon faints. Well, a little bit can be subjective, but I had the idea that it could scale with how heavy the Pokemon is. The heavier it is, the more percentage of HP this ability restores. This, combined with the extremely tanky stats of the Fairy-type Pokemon, could make it a menace when trying to beat. And that's it! All done. All 18 types redesigned for Gardevoir. And wow, I just can't believe the journey's over. It felt like only just a couple months ago that I made the first design in normal type. Here we are at the end, finishing it off fittingly with a fairy type redesign. And this doesn't have to be the end. I can do more stuff kind of like this. Not exactly the same, but if you want to see more stuff like this with other Pokemon, maybe giving them a couple random new types and making a video out of that, just let me know. I'm happy to take any and all suggestions. If you enjoyed, just give a like on the video. Check out some of the other videos in the series if you haven't done that already. That's all for me. I'll see you around.